Sorry, I wasn't looking.
Don't be sorry. All right, we're going to reconvene the meeting, and we will be on item number 5, which is city clerk matters. Mrs. Bach, please.
The first item that I have is an opening on the Utilities Commission. There's an alternate position open, and we have 2 applications on file, Mr. Bill Teston and Mr. Brian Hetty.
I'll nominate Mr. Teston.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Got to be quick.
Yeah. How long have we advertised that we've had this opening on the committee to collect resumes? Or these are some that we had on hand?
These are some that we had on file. We did run an ad in the Press Journal advertising. I didn't get any new ones. I mean, we can hold it for a while to see if we can get some more applications. We've got it online.
I'm sorry, though. Could you please go back and let me know how long, that we've been looking, that we have actively been looking for this?
Since we received the resignation from Mr. Christopher.
And that date was?
Let's see.
3 weeks ago.
July 7th.
July 7th. Okay.
I mean, I don't think that the Utilities Commission has had any problem with getting a quorum and not being able to meet because they don't have this alternate position available right now. So we could go and try to get some more applications if that's
Actually, I tried
council's
to
choice.
proselytize one gentleman and apparently failed. So anyway.
I'll second that motion. This is a non-voting position.
Further
What
comment?
was the motion?
So an alternate is a voter if when they don't have a quorum. So
The mayor made a motion for Mr. Teston,
Teston.
and you seconded.
Yes.
I'll third it.
All fourth?
Mrs. Bach, is this a voice vote?
Are there any other nominations?
No.
Mr.
Well, therefore, it's
Close.
self-evident.
Just call it. You get for official.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-1. Okay.
I'm sorry, one other item I had on there. Last year in November, we held our meeting on Election Day, and you asked me to bring this board earlier to our November meeting to see if you wanted to meet on Election Day this year or not.
I think we should, personally. I really think we should.
Yeah, I agree.
I would like, we have, 4 mayors, either ex or present, and I would take the wisdom one last time, frankly.
Nobody else has any strings?
Okay, thank you for the direction. That's all I have.
City manager?
I have a few items, Mayor and Council. One is the replacement of a membrane replacement project. This is at the water plant, obviously, and we have funding for this. We had a review, had several bid tabulations. We are recommending Tricept Corporation in the amount of $239,775. They were not the low bid at the direct price, but after evaluation for the life pricing, it was recommended by Reese Engineering, who was our consultant, that we go with the second bidder, which is Tricept.
Council comment, questions?
Wayne, do we have any hard and fast requirements that we take the lower bidder?
No.
Just a clarity.
and actually, it is a lower bid if you look at the life
At the
cycle
life, so
of
this is-
the life
yeah.
series, which I appreciate that we are looking at the
Just making it
energy
clear-
efficiency
just-
of our
Just making it
purchases.
clear that everyone understands we don't have to take the low bid.
On this one, we need public comment.
Everything needs public
All
comment.
right, anyone public comment on the additional membranes at the water treatment plant? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Just another note on that, the Utilities Commission did review this and recommend it to the City Council.
This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Mr. O'Connor?
Second request is to hire Reese Engineering to oversee a reverse osmosis improvement at the water treatment plant. The Utilities Commission did review this at their August the 12th meeting and recommends to the City Council obviously, this reverse osmosis will help us in protecting of our water quality.
Council comment?
Just a question. The Reese Engineering, I noticed that we were doing this under an existing service contract that we have with Reese Engineering.
Yes, ma'am.
Move to adopt staff recommendation.
Second.
All right.
Any
Reese
public
Engineering
comment,
has
though,
been,
before?
they have been very good at working with us, so we and have appreciated their efforts.
There being no public comment and having a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
The next item is the stormwater outfall priorities. As you know, we had a request from the county commission chair that we submit a list of priorities. And at the time, we did not have a council meeting between the time he requested and the time he wanted the submittal. We have submitted this as our priorities. I send it out to council. And if there's any changes that you want, any comments, we'll definitely make notice. We have Bill Messerschmidt, who is sort of the person who's been putting together these reports at the request of the City Council in order to ensure that the public is aware that we are pursuing our stormwater obligations and trying to work and help address the issues of the lagoon through the stormwater issues.
I just have a question about the list. So the priorities were the proposed future projects. Is there any, is the numerical order at all important, or it's just this is how many? Are they in order of importance? Like number one is the top priority, VERO Isles?
Yes, ma'am. What we did is put it in ordinance of the list.
Gotcha.
What percentage of the outfalls that we have done now? It's 30-some-odd%?
Bill, do you know the percentage of outfalls that we've addressed?
34% of the urban territory is now covered by some kind of stormwater treatment facility.
Urban means our city limits?
Come on.
Go up the front.
Sorry, Bill.
Tell Monty I did try to protect you, but
I'll tell him. By urban, we're talking about developed. The city is composed of like almost 12 square miles. Of that, about 2 of them are actually the river itself, and then there's another like 1.5 that's airport property. So, but the urban territory is the part that's developed as city, roads, drainage, all that kind of stuff. And so, we've already put some sort of stormwater treatment facilities on 34% of that area. The 7 top priority projects will bump that number up to, I think, 46% or 50, and then with the rest of them, with the remaining projects that are the additional DOT projects, we'll take it all the way up to 53%.
What year do we get to 53% at the current rate?
At which current rate? The current rate of $150,000 a year, the current rate of $300,000 a year, or at $300,000 a year, it's about 19 years out.
Yeah, and I guess my point is that's pretty woeful, but go ahead, Ms. Turner.
Just some questions. When we did the modeling for the Indian River Lagoon, that had asked you to look at our nitrogen and our phosphorus loading so that we knew where we had a baseline so we could be measuring our progress in the future. In that initial memo, you stated that the city of Vero Beach contributes approximately 11% of the whole central basin of the Indian River Lagoon.
That
was
sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's going back a ways.
So, and the central basin goes from Melbourne to the St. Lucie line.
The whole central basin goes from almost Cape Canaveral to the St. Lucie line. Our portion of the basin goes from, I think, Sebastian, actually south of Sebastian. I think from our portion of the basin goes, I think, from Wabasso to the county line.
Okay, and that's the Central B Basin.
That's the Central B Basin, right? Central
B Basin. So it's a small area, and yet we're only 11% is how much we affect.
That is correct.
You also stated in your report that we already appear to be in compliance with the proposed required reductions for nutrients of nitrogen and phosphorus. Now, these are, once again, DEP 30% reduction. This certainly isn't where we want to be in the future.
50% reduction.
A 50% reduction.
That's what the BMAP asked
The
for,
BMAP.
close to a 50% reduction in nitrogen and phosphorus.
This is because we are an impaired waterway. Now, once again, I think the city as a whole, we're doing great strides there. Granted, is that enough? No, but I want the public to know that, hey, we have met that 50% reduction with the projects that we have done, and we will continue to increase on those with our upcoming projects. Thank you, Val.
This comment, and it just builds on what you're saying. I was at the Florida League of Cities, whatever day it was. Jim was there too. So you tell me what day it was. I don't remember. Thursday last, and I'm on the Energy and Environment Committee, which in the 3 years I've been on it is largely dealing with the environment. And I think the Florida League of Cities was effective this last year, and in part because of what we had to say, and in particular Jackie Thurlow Lipsit. I always have trouble with her last name, at Sewell's Point. And I was proud to be able to say that I do really believe that in the environs around us, the city of Vero Beach has done more, starting with a deep injection well, taking water out of the main relief canal and selling it, working on biomass, which doesn't directly affect the lagoon. Our project with the step system, which at the request of City Council, I wrote the governor, and it looks like we're going to be able to get it permitted. And I think our consideration of what we need to do with our stormwater, and it's interesting, Fellsmere and Sebastian Fort Pierce all have stormwater provisions. But I was proud to tell the group, and our fertilizer ordinance, the one we were the first, and then of course we stepped it up as necessary. So I think we've done a great deal. And to me, at least in front of my house, we still have seagrass, and we have seagrass from the 17th Street Bridge south, and I think that to some degree is reflected in the fact that what Mrs. Turner says is correct. The city of Vero Beach has shown more stewardship. Still, when you have 34%, if that's the right number, of your outfalls only done, that concerns me. And when you look at the thing, the science isn't all complete. Senator Negron was able to get us some help as far as dredging and as far as money for more Kilroys and more filtering. But one would have every reason to believe that the three biggest problems that we probably have, in no particular order, are seepage from septic tanks, runoff from streets, and the city of Vero Beach is in a poor position because we have no land to build ponds, and ponds help materially. And then, of course, the muck, which reflects what has been allowed to get into the pass. So I would like to commend city councils.
Don't commend it. We did a great job.
Commend city councils for what we've done so far, but I think we need to do far more, and that's my speech. I think the Indian River Lagoon, of all the problems we have, is the single most important. But anyway, there's a speech for you.
The topic of this one being our stormwater outfall priorities. I guess we just recently received the County Commission's priority for lagoon projects for Indian River County. And I was pleased to see that we had $200,000 for the Vero Isles. Our number one project was on here, as well as the Tulip Lane outfall. I haven't had a chance to talk with them and how they prioritize those projects, Bill. I don't know if you know anything more.
I made a call to Fellsmere to find out a little bit more about their $10 million project, because that's beyond me.
And for the public, this is the Indian River Lagoon Counties Collaborative, and it's a regional group that's looking to, they have $21 million worth of funds that they were.
$21 million worth of projects.
Projects.
We're earmarked to get $290,000 of.
That at least the city would be able to get $290,000, which would go a long way to adding to our annual spending on projects. But also, those two particular projects were supported by scientific data. I know that when Orca did the mapping of the lagoon, that those were the two areas that they confirmed had particular issues, and it's great to have those on those lists to be looking at.
I think on this particular one, at least I'm satisfied with the work that was done here. What do you need from us, Jim, and what do you need from the public?
I really don't need anything, just to let you know what our priorities are. If there's a change in that, we were looking for input from the council, but really this is the informational piece.
Is there anyone in the public who would like to speak on this? All right, seeing none, you have your direction. What you've done.
I just have a quick question. Have we considered any bioremediation projects as well to kind of bring the costs down, at least?
You mean like bioswales or that kind of thing? Mm-hmm. A lot of our swales function as, a little bit of bioremediation.
Okay. Because then you're not having to constantly replace the technology.
Right. And that's one of the reasons that we're looking at this FlexiPave stuff, because we think that'll go a long way. A lot of, in my opinion, a lot of the nutrients that get into the waterway are from, organic material that, goes down the drain. Right. And the FlexiPave will stop that. And it makes it very, very easy to clean it then, because we just run the street sweeper over it.
Thank you.
So we think that's going to make a big difference.
Jim?
Bill, before you run off, the next item is the information. Again, council requested something about our asphalt program and how we select our streets. And then also the stormwater utility concept. As you know, we do have 2 cities within Indian River County who have a stormwater utility. If we go in that direction, the recommendation would be is that we hire a consultant that comes in and sets that pricing, because that becomes a very sticky wicket at the end of the day as to how you have pervious versus impervious surfaces, and if you consider charging those. On the asphalt roadway, I think that Don Dexter did a very good job in laying it out, sort of giving you the not only visuals but also the program that we use in prioritizing streets and roadways.
Well, let me speak to the asphalt roadway maintenance. I think it's a great report. I think, unfortunately, we're only putting $200,000 this coming year into a $600,000 project. We'll live through 1 year. I think we lost 1 percentage point on your chart as far as in the good rating. I would just like to say that I'll be here next year, and $200,000 is not enough for the streets. That's my comment on it, but I thought it was a great report.
Yeah.
Ms. Turner.
Yeah, I guess I was still a little concerned with forecasting such huge needs or requirements on the streets. If we have only 3% of our roads are in poor, and 28% are, fair to me is okay. I mean, granted, you have to be looking at that, and we probably need to be budgeting more to take care of the rest of that fair category. But the rest of our roads are good. And then when we prioritize what we're doing, we're having, I guess I didn't see that many of the poor. I guess we're taking care of a good bit of the fair roads in the attachment B one, but none of the poor roads. So obviously what we have in the poor area, our priorities are low volume, or I guess I'd still like to see a little better description of these categories, because if I am to believe that we need to be spending $600,000 to $800,000 a year, then obviously a fair or a good rating isn't adequate. So if we could get a little bit more.
We can work on that, on the definition of the terms. There's something that's very important here. Preventive maintenance saves you long-term.
Certainly.
We were talking about life cycle cost. Once you have the base of a roadway damaged, it becomes a substantial improvement that has to be done on the road. So I think a lot of our projections here are based on that preventive type of operation. For example, if we would have been doing preventive resurfacing, possibly Ocean Drive would not have gotten into the crack issues and the bumpy road that it is today, using that as just as one of those examples. We are very fortunate that we've had a fairly good paving program over time in the city of Vero Beach, which really gives us that fair standard, and we're not suffering from potholes as it is today. And so it's a question of trying to keep on top. But we can go back and do some of those definition of terms as to what is fair and maybe a better definition.
So,
Thank you, that would be helpful.
so you'll do that, and we've really decided this one in the budget meeting,
Yeah.
so.
Yes, sir. And
It's
again,
decided.
this is informational, and the council had requested it, so we brought it forward for your.
Appreciate
your
it, John.
Anyone in the public likes to speak on the
Just a
streets?
question. I assume we've done this in the past somewhere,
What do you mean?
where we have done a roadway condition distribution.
We do that internally all the time.
Every 3 years.
Did we bring it to the council? I don't know if there's been a report. Don, do you know when the last report to council was? But internally, we run our systems all the time and have our priorities.
Well, the point being is that I'd like to see if, over time, if there's a shift more towards the poor or fair, which would possibly indicate that we're underfunding this portion of the budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, typically what we do is, as I mentioned in the report, we have a consultant come in every 3 years, and then after that report comes in, we go out and actually ride the roads because there's some conditions. A lot of our roads have a base that's made out of soil cement, and so you get those cracks that you see that are about 10-foot squares. Now, structurally, the base is still in good condition, but the surface has the cracks in it. So that's where the judgment of us who have been around for a while, we help prioritize things, and we look at the traffic volumes on the street. But a report to council typically is done with our budget meetings, and that's what we talk about the paving program for the upcoming year.
I'd just like to see the shifts over time.
We will do that. Don, do you have any questions about what Ms. Turner wants on the definition of terms and trying to give a better picture of what fair?
Yeah, on just the quality, the quality ratings that we get from the consultant. If we could get just a little better definition on it.
Okay, and in his summary report, he does talk about from 30 to 40 or 40 to 50 and what those are, and he gives some examples in there too of some pictures, but we can certainly highlight that a little bit more.
Thank you.
All right, that does the roadway maintenance on the utility. I have a very formed opinion that today we need to authorize the city manager taking steps which would have an outlook or look at what we would really be talking about as far as how it would be done. The reality is if we could get $3 a month or something, which is a tax, for the life of the need of the lagoon, and if we have 14,000 users, we'd have $50,000 a month to spend on the lagoons, which should go back into the baffle boxes, which would be $600,000 a year, which would be material. And I think we have a responsibility to the public to move forward to the degree of having this studied, not to decide to do it, but to decide to study doing it. So that would be my proposal.
I concur with you, Mayor. I think it takes into account that everyone impacts the lagoon, not just people who pay property taxes to the city of Vero Beach.
In this case,
Which is it would enable everyone to bear some of the responsibility.
Yeah, I looked at that 44% of properties that do not pay ad valorem tax or property taxes to the city. And at first I thought, boy, this is really shocking. And when you analyze it, you have to remember 25% of the property in the city is the airport. Another 4% will be these parks and areas, civic centers that we are putting under the charter. So you end up with around 15% that's going to be a mix of nonprofit and other city properties, probably warehouse areas and other things that aren't in the charter that would be, that don't pay property taxes. So it's not, you're not picking up another 44%,
right, but
of participants in this.
But every
it's
little bit helps.
maybe 15 or less.
It's 15 more that we don't have.
Sure.
Mrs. Turner is correct, because sitting on the Florida League of Cities committee dealing with this for the last 3 years, one of the main issues that cities across Florida, many of them on the west side and the north, report that have well-formed stormwater utilities, whatever utility means. One of the big problems they have is it's a rare utility that's able to collect money from the school districts, as a matter of fact, in the state of Florida. So it's entirely true that my $3 times 14,000 connections doesn't really work out. And all that needs to be understood, which we don't understand.
Well, and once again, I still could say my objection to a stormwater utility and concept. I mean, we voted not to raise taxes, and the stormwater utility is just another tax. It's more government and increasing costs to the taxpayers. Most stormwater utilities, according to the Florida Stormwater Utility website, their costs barely cover their administrative costs. Because when you set up this utility, then they transfer our 11 employees of stormwater plus probably some of the engineering, and then we're playing this game of G&A charges of the utility going back and forth. You know, as we've seen the issues with the electric and other utilities. I'd like to see us putting more emphasis on stopping the pollution at the source rather than taking it out. Let our taxpayers use their tax money to buy slow-release nitrogen, to prevent the runoff from their own yards, to change their landscaping, keep our canals free of trash and litter, go out at Power Squadron and help make some oyster mats. You know, science may prove that the main cause that we're seeing of the algae blooms is using Roundup or weed killer around the swales, or that it's an agricultural issue, or, you know, as technology is improving. I think we've set up a good plan. I think the city of Vero Beach has been on the forefront in addressing these pollution issues. I think I commend our staff with the projects we've been taking. Yes, we can always do more, but I think we need to do it in a reasonable way and one that science will support, and that, you know, we're not putting an additional burden on our taxpayers. I mean, right now we're still looking at high electric rates. We're looking at possible an issue of losing electric customers and then having to deal with that major impact. We've got pension liabilities pending, other post-employment benefits. Yeah, I just don't think it's a time to be adding another burden to our taxpayers.
Well, I think instead of delving into the realm of hypothetical, getting an actual study so we can see concrete numbers will help address a lot of the issues that you bring up. And it would benefit us to have something concrete to make a decision rather than guesstimating.
Would you make that a motion?
I do make that a motion.
I'll second it. Public comment? Mr. Day.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Council. Ken Digg, 1846 21st Avenue. The discussion is on the stormwater management situation. For a point of clarity, all properties, if this happens to go through, all properties will be assessed. The city properties are set off to one side. Does that also include the nonprofits get assessed also, which means churches and whatnot? Mm-hmm. So could you please clarify that, Mr. Mayor?
Well, I think the motion is to move forward and to delve into the fine points. My understanding to the answer to your question is that in communities such as Fellsmere, Sebastian, and Fort Pierce, and I could be wrong about this, the answer would be yes. We will have to make our own decisions, and we'll have to guard against the things that Mrs. Turner points out. In other words, what we would be talking about here is a storm water utility for the life of the need of the lagoon. It would then be sunset. And we'd be talking about being wise enough, first of all, to get the right kind of advice, and then wise enough to implement the right kind of program so that we really make an effect on the lagoon. And I think if you ask somebody to pay money, they have a right to that. Now, if that is all accomplished, and the little word if is the devil in that, if that's all accomplished, I think there are very few people that wouldn't pay $3, $4, or $5 a month for the good of the lagoon. So that being the case.
Call it.
I'll call the motion. Mrs. Vach?
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
No.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Winger?
Yes.
Just for clarification now, Can we just maybe get the Sebastian stormwater utility ordinances and maybe the Fellsmere so we can pass that on to the council before we go out and hire a consultant?
Absolutely. We'll take your direction on this. The direction to you is to tell us how we should proceed.
Okay, what we will do is collect those, get those out to the council, because they're pretty explicit as to how they impose the fee, what the fee is, and that kind of stuff.
And I think we all know that, you know, one size does not fit all, to be cliche, and we don't have some of the good things that Fellsmere has in that we're completely built out. We can't build ponds. They're going into the what is it, C-54 canal, and so therefore our situation is completely different. So to think that we can do exactly what they do, I don't think that'll be so. And we'll need your guidance on that too.
Yeah. What I'm doing is just trying to get you examples of what's around us, and then we can get those to you, and then we can have further discussion before we bring in someone who we've paid it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, Mr. O'Connor.
Next item is we have a draft RFP. We have taken this to the utility and to the Finance Commission for their review. They are recommending it. We would like to proceed. A couple items on this RFP. What we're doing is not only trying to find someone to look at our rates, but an extended contract as well, because we will have an optimization RFP that will be going out in the next couple of months. When that goes out, we would like to be able to have our rate analysts be able to model what those optimization recommendations are and what effect they would have over time. It also would provide to the Finance Department some backup information when needed, that she could make that call. They could come in and make sure her numbers are consistent with what the industry standards will be. Another thing that we're going to look at is our rate structure here. As you know, there's varying rate structures across the state. There's the breaks as to where your demand charges are. Some utilities even have demand charges on higher use homes, larger homes, and those type of things. What we want this consultant to do is sort of give us a briefing as to what is sort of a standard industry in this general area, so we to make sure that our rate structure conforms to that. At the same time, recognize where our cost of services really are. What our contract with OUC has that capacity charge that we're paying on an annual basis. What's causing that capacity to continue to grow when we're only growing at about 1.2%? So those type of questions is what we would like to get out of this RFP. And unless there's objections from the council, we plan to proceed and submit this RFP for publication.
I have no problem with it. Is there any public comment, though? There seems to be no comment.
No, and I just think it's a great idea to have it on a work order or a continuing service, so that, as things evolve, that we can go back and utilize their expertise and analysis.
All right, you have your direction, Mr. O'Connor.
Move from that. The staff analysis of the Finance Commission Chairman's potential pre-sale rate reductions. We have included a pretty thick package for you where we went down. The fact of the matter is we've implemented quite a few of these. And so those, we obviously are going to continue that implementation. But some of the projects that they had, for example, analyzed the 5-year capital program for T&D to incur debt. We took that to both the commissions, and they have recommended that we not incur debt service for that. Evaluate the fees, current fees, determine the recovery. Both commissions accepted staff's recommendation rather than start changing and increasing those fees. Let's start enforcing what we presently have on the books and making sure that we use it uniform across the system and see what impact that is. The realities are the fees do cover some costs, but I'm not sure that they have any major impact on rate reductions. But again, we've started a policy that we're starting to implement, that we are now reading the code and implementing according to the code. There were variations that were being used in the past practices. Examining the customer service operations. As you know, the Finance Department is doing that. We are working with the financial institution that we have a contract with, Wells Fargo, in order to look at technology that we can use in the interchange of paying of the receipts, where we've sort of become hopefully paperless in that, and also makes the cash payments much easier to to handle. And I think long-term will have an impact, a positive impact on the reduction of man-hours as it affects these areas. The pursuit of negotiations with FMPA and OUC contract. I have a meeting set up, as a matter of fact, tomorrow. I'll be in Orlando meeting with OUC to talk about our contract and some of those modifications. Tom Richards has been in touch with both FMPA and OUC, as well as the power pool, talking about our power plant and some of the changes that we're going to make in there. Hours of operation is going to be at least our initial one, and then eventually the potential closing of the plant. We're hoping that we will have the consultant on for the optimization study before we make any major moves in that, but we want to make sure we understand what all the obstacles are as we proceed. But we are pursuing and moving in that direction. The construct the T&D improvements, power, import power, decommission the plant, mothball. Again, that falls back into our OUC contract, in which we will be delving into that conversation. And we have tomorrow will be, I think, the greatest delving into that, where we'll all be carrying the contract with us in hand as we sit down. But in essence, we've provided those questions. We have taken them both to the Utility Commission and the Finance Commission, and we stand ready to answer any questions if you have those. Otherwise, we're proceeding as in the direction that's been discussed.
I have two comments. One, I think you're going in the right direction, and some of these will, whether large or small, probably small, result ultimately in rates lower than they otherwise would be, and that's a good thing. So accolades for that. And I don't have, the T&D and capital financing thing. I have no objection at this point. But I will tell you that at some point, the whole idea of presuming that something doesn't happen and we can't close the sale, which would be the best outcome, but presuming that doesn't happen, I think a system where we got the Fitch rating, for those who haven't seen it, we're A, is A or A plus stable? A plus. A plus stable. They comment on our low debt, which to capital ratio that we have. At some point in time, I've got to tell you that, I would consider when we're paying off $5 million a year in debt, roughly, I could see us borrowing $3 million. I'm not making that proposal now. I'm just telling you that I have that in my heart.
Mr. Mayor, when we say that we're not going to incur debt, what we're talking about are the normal operation and maintenance items. If we had, for example, if we did the transmission study and it said we needed a $5 million upgrade to a substation by purchasing a transformer, we would recommend that we go to debt for that. So we're not excluding debt. We're just saying that the debt service for smaller items such as breakers is something that we would not recommend.
I understand that. I don't agree with you.
I understand.
But I will agree with you in the short term for today. But I will tell you that what we're doing is an oxymoron. What we're doing is we're paying for $3 or $4 million every year of things that are $100,000 or $50,000 or $200,000 out of cash, but we're putting them on the books as an investment. They are an investment. We take them and we say they're an investment. So all I'm saying to you is we're kind of neither fish nor fowl, and that story doesn't completely play in my accounting mind. But anyway, you won the argument for today with me.
Thank you, sir. Today's the optimal word. Okay, unless there are any other questions, we are proceeding. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to go through it quickly, just saying that the Finance and Utility Commission reviewed 17 items, and were unanimous on all of those, with the exception of reducing the transfer to the general fund as a potential for lowering electric rates. And I just think probably got to be aware of that one, that votes were 3-2 in Finance, to keep the transfer and 6-0 from the Utility Commission to keep the transfer. So they thought this was not a viable option to consider for lowering rates.
Further comment from the public or from council? Move forward.
The third quarter fiscal year of the electric utility rate sufficiency, we have sent out a copy, and again, it has been reviewed by both the Utility and the Finance Commission. And we are recommending that our numbers are pretty much in line with what our projections were, and that we have no change in electric rates for this fiscal year. We will again, hopefully, we'll have that consultant at least started on our rate structure and rates at that point, and we'll rely on them as we go forward in this process.
I just got to say one thing. I've actually been extremely amazed at Cindy's ability to predict these numbers. I know I've had a lot of people that I've worked with, and I think she's done an absolutely amazingly good job. So I'm really glad to have Cindy working on this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mr. Vice Mayor, there's no question she's been really right on the money, and I feel very comfortable. Her projections of the rates have no issue. I think what she and I get sort of bogged down into is the rate structure and how you allocate cost. And there's, again, going back to what the mayor said earlier, there is not one size fits all. And so you look at everything across this state, and even in the municipals themselves, and it's just a real change from location to location. And I guess we just need to identify where our rate, where our cost actually occurs. So we will proceed in that process.
What next, Jim?
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor, unless there's any questions from council.
From the council, questions, please.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no questions, seeing no comment from the Wayne, do you have further matters? We've covered your one on the agenda.
No, sir, nothing else.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for our city attorney.
Absolutely, Ms. Stern.
How the public had seen the article about Stewart preparing for medical pop passage. And I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is that I do not want to see the city get behind legislation like we did with our vacation rentals. I like to see us take a look at what ordinance, anything else we could do if medical marijuana is approved with the referendum. We've had great work from the Assistant Attorney Peggy Lyons, Code Enforcement Police, when we were battling for the pill mills. And I want to make sure that we have those things in place that we can put to protect our community.
Right, and we are looking at that. This is a topic for any time local government attorneys get together, and it's something that statewide is of concern and of interest, and we are looking at it.
Which certainly could change the character of our community that we
certainly
want to protect. Thank you.
All right, City Council matters, new business, Mr. Kramer.
Okay, this was really a follow-up to a discussion we had during our budget season. We had talked about giving a cost of living increase to our old plan of retirees, and I don't think we got a real clear answer. I think we just kind of pushed it off a little bit. But when I had originally asked for the list, there's about 126 retirees there, and they ranged in age, into the mid-90s to high 70s. And keep in mind, these are, this is a class of people that we're not putting more people on this plan. They lived, some of them lived through the Great Depression, World War II, Korean War, et cetera. And when they paid in, the pensions were fully funded. And so really what I'm asking you for is an extra $18,000 out of that pension to give them the cost of living increase. If you looked at the list that was put in front of you today, there's a few people that are missing, so it's really not $18,000 anymore, it's less. And so just in a couple of months, just actually 1 month time, that number has decreased. This is a declining part of the pension. I think, when they put into it, it was fully funded, and I think they deserve the cost of living increase.
You want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to give them the 1% cost of living increase. Please also keep in mind that their health insurance went up 10% as well. These are people that don't have an opportunity to bolster their income to pay for that.
I'll second your motion. Discussion by council.
Discussion, I'd say these ways that we have met all the city and the taxpayers have met all their financial obligations to these employees. We are paid them. We continue to pay them. Looking for a cost of living is an addition to that. When the city is an unfunded pension liability of $37 million and other post-employment benefits, liability of $55 million. For our next year budget alone, we've included $6.2 million for pensions. That's up 30%. Said, we had a promise to these employees. We are meeting that by paying what we had promised to pay them. I think your concern is admirable, Mr. Kramer, but I suggest you exercise your philanthropy with your own money and not with the taxpayers' money.
Further comment by comment by the public? There being none, having a motion and a second, I'll call the question. Is the voice vote, Mrs. Fox?
That's fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
How did you vote, Mrs.?
No.
I voted yes.
Okay, it passes 3-2. That moves us on to individual council matters, and I have one matter that I'd just like to seek council guidance on, and we're not really prepared to do very much with it today. But in Indian River County, the county and Sebastian have a resolution, it's only a resolution, about candy-flavored tobacco. And personally, I'd be in favor of having Wayne take a look at it and see what's there. This map has got a list of all the communities that have such resolutions. It's just a resolution. But in Martin County does, Stewart, Sewell's Point, in St. Lucie County has it, Port St. Lucie and Fort Pierce, that's 100% there. In Brevard County, taking our neighbor counties, Brevard County, West Melbourne, Melbourne, Satellite Beach, Coca, and India Atlantic. That's almost everybody there. I think that's missing one. I think it's something we should at least consider. And if council agrees, all I'd like Wayne to do is take a look at it and tell us what we should consider.
Good idea.
I agree.
Mr. Fletcher, are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
All right. Mr. Kramer.
Interest of time, I'll pass.
Mrs. Turner.
Yeah, Sister Winger, since Sunshine, I won't be able to ask you outside of a meeting, but when you received the lawsuit from Indian River Shores and the action from the county, was there any particular, why did you not at that time request a shade meeting? Did you feel it wasn't significant enough to have input from the council?
No, I asked the city attorney whether we could have a shade meeting. His advice was I asked him at one point at that juncture that we could not. Do you remember the circumstances, Wayne?
No, I don't. I don't remember specifically.
And then why I didn't go forward and why anybody didn't go forward with a special call meeting, I didn't do it because of what I said earlier. I do not believe in interfering in Jim O'Connor's course, and in particular, I don't believe in interfering with attorneys. So that would be my reason.
And keep in mind on the lawsuit in particular, it doesn't affect the PSC petition by the county, but the Indian River Shores lawsuit, they immediately also implemented the conflict resolution process. So that's something that we have to go through anyway that takes 90 to 100 days, typically at a minimum, before we even really get into the lawsuit. But it is a pending action, but it's in abeyance right now.
I mean, does that fairly answer your question?
If that's your response, we're going to take it from that.
It would seem to me prudent to just wait for the discovery over so we can get the information to make a good decision.
Yeah, I've been involved in a lot of these in my life, and I have learned to let whoever is handling it handle it, and let the lawyer handle it, unless they come to me. I thought about it early on, what else one might do, and I've learned that, I take my direction from them, not try to give them direction. So that's my answer.
Thank you.
Best I can do.
Okay, I'll move on to my matters. Attended the FMPA board meeting on July 28th. They were continue to address that their audit is ongoing, that they do have auditors are there and plan to be there 10 to 12 weeks in FMPA's office and reporting back on January the 15th to the state. I raised considerable questions about the Stanton 2, and the St. Lucie budgets, particularly because these are our Vero Beach power sources. They're operated by OUC. FMPA said that claimed they had no responsibility for the costs, and yet when I'm looking at the budgets, 35% of the costs are controlled by FMPA. So I'll continue to review that and try to get some more information for you. I requested that the FMPA member evaluation include elected boards input, not only the utility directors. They requested a swap contract advisor be renewed. Yet, with 47 of the existing swaps in FMPA are underwater, market to market. The most seriously being the Taylor swaps, which could be millions to Vero Beach. I will be attending a workshop on the Taylor swaps on Thursday, as well as the audit committee meeting, the executive board meeting, and the ARP meeting. So it'll be a full day in Orlando on Thursday. The tourist board met. Our bed taxes are overall up 9.6% for the year, exceeding our budget figures by 12%. So I think that was great. The Chamber Tourism Director is partnered with Brand USA, and they have prepared a 3-minute video in French, Portuguese, and German to promote our county's ecotourism, culture arts, and luxury vacation. So we might be hearing a lot more accents in Vero Beach soon. That's successful. I want to thank Jane Stanfield, the chair of the Waterway Cleanup, held on the 26th, the Power Squadron members, and all the volunteers who worked to help clean debris from our lagoon. It was a great effort. I don't have the tonnage of what they removed, but really, really, really wonderful. And it was a privilege to stand with our Korean War veterans at the Veterans Memorial Island for their anniversary of the armistice. I mean, we're all indeed indebted to these war heroes. And when I end up on my Lagoon Minute, I think it was great seeing positive results from fertilizer ordinances. I know when we I brought it to council 3 years ago, and we passed that through. We still didn't have any scientific proof this was going to help. We just said, hey, we hope this would be working. And in seeing the scientific results from the Charlotte Harbor National Estuary Program and what's happening in Tampa Bay, that they're seeing 27% drops and 21 to 27% drops in it, I think it's wonderful, and I'll look forward to another year be able to tell you that, City of Vero Beach, this is actually what we're seeing here. And just say Downtown Friday, those for cyclists, they will have a 6-mile bike ride starting at 6 p.m. I think they're meeting at 14th Avenue, and I think the city manager might be getting he and Sherry get their bicycles up and go out and ride.
No, ma'am, I don't think we're going to do that.
Come on, you're always riding down at the beach. I mean, this is going to be a Downtown Friday. They'll have music there, whatever. Anyway, but I hope it to be a family event so the kids can bring their bicycles. It'll be, this is not a race. This is a bicycle ride. So see y'all out there. Thanks.
Ms. Graves?
2 quick things. Today is National Aviation Day, and I just want to say how proud I am of the aviation history that we have here in the city. And we made history this past spring with the Blue Angels. And then second, we received a mail from actually Peter and Sharon Gorey about the bees that were in their electric box. There were also some at my house in the water. So if just people can be aware, and if you see bees coming in and out of your water what do we call that?
Water meter box.
Well, I just
Meter
like
box?
the actual lid. Please call because we will take care of that. And they're not honeybees, I've been instructed, so we need to deal with them. I said we should give them to the mayor, but he doesn't want them. So thank you.
I don't want bees that live in the ground because the only species of honeybee that lives in the ground is an Africanized one. All their bees won't live in the ground. I don't want them. Mr. Fletcher, please.
I'll pass. I'll pass and move to adjourn.
All right, we are adjourned.